the sun.
Now it's only fair that I should let you know.
Sing 'em out again. She works laying whiskey down the Cyprian.
Bad feelings have disappeared.
If you listened to the radio in the early 70s, you already know every single one of these songs. You know these 1972 songs. Can you name them? The challenge is recognizing them from the story alone, before the title comes up. 7 songs, no titles until the end of each one. Let's see how fast you get them. Song number 1. A British folk singer wrote this in 1957 as a favor, taught it to a woman over the telephone, and watched it get covered by the Kingston Trio, Peter, Paul, and Mary, and Gordon Lightfoot over the next decade. None of them could make it a hit.
Were the gifts you gave.
A music teacher in Washington, D.C. recorded it for her debut album in 1969, and when her producer told her to speed it up, she refused. The album went nowhere for 3 years. Then, something unexpected happened. Clint Eastwood heard it on a Los Angeles freeway, tracked down her number, and paid her $2,000 to use it in his first film as a director. It hit number 1 in the spring of 1972 and won the Grammy for both Record of the Year and Song of the Year. Do you know it? Roberta Flack, The First Time Ever I Saw Your Face.
The first time ever I kissed you.
Song number 2. 2 guys in the same band each had half a song they couldn't finish. One had a verse, the other had a chorus, no verse to attach it to. When they finally stuck the pieces together, the finished track ended up buried on their 1970 album, never released as a single. A singer at a party in Laurel Canyon heard it and was so convinced it was an unreleased Beatles record that he spent the rest of the night trying to figure out who made it. Once he found out, he recorded his own version. And here's where it gets strange.
Your faces you were leaving, but I guess that's...
The band who wrote the song happened to be in another studio in the same London building at the exact same time. He walked them down the hall to hear what he'd done. The songwriter said it completely changed how he understood his own song. It went to number 1 in early 1972. Both writers later received the Ivor Novello Award. Both died by suicide, destroyed by legal trouble tied to the very song that should have made them set for life.
I can't give anymore.
Do you know it? Harry Nilsson, Without You. Written by Pete Ham and Tom Evans of Badfinger.
If living is without you, I can't live.
Before song number 3, think about where you first heard these songs. Maybe it was a car radio on a long drive. Maybe it was coming from the kitchen while you were doing something else entirely. These songs weren't trying to be timeless, they just were. Drop a memory in the comments if any of this is taking you somewhere. I read every one of them.
With no clouds, the heat was hot and the
Song number 3. This next song annoyed at least one very famous musician. 3 American kids grew up near a U.S. Air Force base outside London, formed a band, and recorded a debut album that the label said was missing a hit. One of the writers had been sitting in the English rain picturing childhood road trips through the New Mexico desert, deep in Neil Young's early albums, and it came through in the music so clearly that most people who heard it on the radio assumed it was Neil Young. When it knocked Young's own single out of the top spot in March 1972, he was reportedly not pleased. Radio stations in Kansas City banned it, convinced horse was drug slang. The writer had grown up in England. He said he'd genuinely never heard that term. Do you know it? America, a horse with no name.
I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain.
Song number 4. An Irish singer-songwriter wrote this at 21. The words move through being left at the altar, losing faith, losing both parents.
Reality came around, and without so much as a mere
Neil Sedaka, who covered it years later, said he wished he had written it himself. The melody sounds like a warm afternoon. The lyrics are something else entirely. That gap is probably why it never left you once you heard it.
He deserted me in my hour of need. I truly am in.
It hit number 1 in the summer of 1972, got knocked off for a single week, then came back and held the top spot for 2 more. But that's not the part that lasted longest. When a rapper sampled it in 1991 without permission and lost in court, the ruling changed how the entire music industry handled samples from that point on. One song from 1972 rewrote the rules for everyone who came after. Do you know it? Gilbert O'Sullivan, Alone Again.
I did on my own, alone again, naturally.
Song number 5. This next song accidentally changed baby names across the United States.
Sailor said, Brandy, you're fine, you're fine.
4 guys from Rutgers University got signed to Epic Records by Clive Davis, released a debut album in the summer of 1972, and watched their best song get buried on the B-side. A promotion man took a test pressing to the program director at the biggest top 40 station in Washington, D.C. He put it into heavy rotation the same day he heard it. The phones lit up immediately. The label rushed it out as a proper single, and it was already number 1 in Washington before a single copy had reached a record store. As for that name, the lead guitarist borrowed it from a high school girlfriend called Randy, changing just 1 letter. It jumped nearly 300 spots on the national baby name charts over the next 2 years. Do you know it? Looking Glass, Brandy. 5 songs in. Think about where you were in 1972, a teenager with the radio on in your bedroom, or maybe driving somewhere with the windows down. These songs came on, and you didn't think much of it at the time. Then 50 years passed, and you still know every word. Drop a comment. Tell me which one just brought something back. Song number 6. The songwriter finished this and described it in his own words as a very basic message, unadorned. He hadn't even written a bridge. His label president told him it would be his biggest copyright ever. He thought that was generous. The melody came from a Mozart piano concerto written in 1785, built around a Fender Rhodes electric piano, a song about sadness that somehow never feels sad while you're listening to it.
Song blue, sleeping on my pillow.
The label president was right. It spent 7 weeks at the top of the adult contemporary chart, longer than anything else this artist ever released. Do you know it? Neil Diamond, Song Sung Blue.
Oh, song blue, weeping like a willow.
Song number 7. This singer had spent years working with reggae musicians in Jamaica, signed a then unknown songwriter to a record deal before that man had any audience outside the island, and was sharing a London flat with him, writing together, when he made this album.
Oh, I've been praying for. It's gonna be bright.
But came out of those sessions sounded like nothing else on American radio that year. It's widely considered the first reggae-influenced song to reach #1 in the United States. The songwriter in that London flat went on to become one of the most recognized musicians in the world. This song came first. Do you know it? Johnny Nash, I Can See Clearly Now.
I can see clearly now, the rain is gone.
7 songs, 1 year. All of them still playing somewhere right now, more than 50 years on. How many did you get? Your score is on the screen. Drop it in the comments and tell me which one tripped you up. If you want more of this every week, hit subscribe. See you on the next one.